So, welcome everyone. Hare Krishna. I just like to sing this beautiful song by Govinda Das Kaviraj called Bajahu Re Mana Sri Nandanandana and maybe talk a little bit about it. Bajahu Re Mana Sri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare Bajahu Re Mana Sri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare Dulabhamanavajanama Satsange Dulabhamanavajanama Satsange Tarohe Bhava Sindhuri Tarohe Bhava Sindhuri Shita Tapa Bhatta Barishana Edina Jani Jagiri Shita Tapa Bhatta Barishana Edina Jani Jagiri Bifale Sevinu Kripana Duradana Bifale Sevinu Kripana Duradana Chapala Sukalaba Lagiri Chapala Sukalaba Lagiri Idana Yogana Putra Parijana Itiki Ache Prada Titiri Idana Yogana Putra Parijana Itiki Ache Prada Titiri Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala Bajahu Re Hari Nidhi Re Bajahu Hari Pada Nidhi Re Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dasari Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dasari Pujana Sakijana Atma Nivedana Pujana Sakijana Atma Nivedana Govinda Dasambi Lashari Govinda Dasambi Lashari Ajahure Mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindari. So I'll read the translation. O mind, just worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda, which make one fearless. Having obtained this rare human birth, cross over this ocean of worldly existence through the association of saintly persons. Both in the day and at night I remain sleepless, suffering the pains of the heat and cold, the wind and the rain. For a fraction of flickering happiness, I have uselessly served wicked and miserly men. What assurance of real happiness is there in all of one's wealth, youthfulness, sons, and family members? This life is tottering like a drop of water on a lotus petal. Therefore, you should always serve and worship the divine feet of Lord Hari. It is the desire and great longing of Govinda Das to engage himself in the 9 processes of bhakti, namely hearing the glories of Lord Hari and chanting those glories, constantly remembering him and offering prayers to him, serving the Lord's lotus feet, serving the Supreme Lord as a servant, worshipping him with flowers and incense and so forth, serving him as a friend, and completely offering the Lord one's very self. So this line, this life is tottering like a drop of water on a lotus petal. I have been thinking about that. So as we can see with this present situation with the virus and the lockdown, everything that we were attached to, that was, how can you say, material, if there was any material attachment, we are seeing now that that pleasure, that so-called pleasure, is tottering. At any second, like a drop of water on the lotus petal, it can fall off. So now that's the result of this virus, is that we can see that whatever so-called happiness there is in this material world, it's tottering. It is not secure. It is illusory happiness. Real happiness means unending happiness. But this kind of happiness that we derive from material enjoyment, forgetful of God, of Krishna, is not real happiness. It's illusory. It's also described that, yes, in this material world there is a drop of happiness. They give example of if you're in the desert and you need water because it's very dry. So if somebody gives you a drop of water, is that sufficient for your needs? No. So in the same way, the so-called happiness that we may find in this material world is insufficient for our needs. Rather, we can hear from Lord Chaitanya, Gauranga, that Anandam Buddhivardhanam, that the spiritual happiness, the life of Krishna consciousness, is Anandam Buddhivardhanam, meaning that it's like an ocean of Ananda. Ananda means bliss, and Buddhi means ocean, and Vardhana means increasing. So here we see that in the material world, whatever pleasure we get from enjoying our senses is limited. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and ultimately, with disease, old age, and finally death, that happiness is finished. It is finished. Even in our old age, we cannot enjoy as we did before. Our senses are not capable. Even the temporary enjoyment becomes limited and restricted. So this is not a good bargain, as they say. The material world is not a good bargain. There is a little bit of happiness, but limited, and for that happiness we pay a heavy price of distress, suffering. Whereas the message we get from Krishna consciousness is that we are Ananda, we are blissful by nature, but that blissful nature is in relationship with the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, Sukha Swarup. He is happiness personified. Our relationship with him is the source of real happiness and unending happiness. So our human form of life is meant for that, is to awaken that relationship. And in this way, simultaneously solve all the problems of material life, all the suffering. And this is one name of Krishna, Hari. Hari means he who steals or takes away all our sorrows and sufferings. So at this time especially, we are locked down, having to look at our situation and see, what am I really here for? What is my real purpose? And what is the source of real happiness? Not temporary happiness that, like a lotus petal, a drop of water on the lotus petal, can be finished at any moment. That is not real happiness. Illusory happiness, that is not what we want. So fortunately, the great souls and the Lord himself descend to this dark universe and say, come home to Sri Vrindavan, the land of love, the place of no suffering, which is indescribably blissful. We cannot imagine, but the descriptions are there in all the beautiful devotional books about this place and what is going on there. It is the spiritual kingdom, the personal home of God, of Krishna, Goloka Vrindavan, a giant planet shaped like a lotus, and no influence of time, no birth, disease, old age, the death. And there is simply Ananda there, blissful goings on. It is rural life. Krishna is taking out the cows, and the cowherd boys are playing with him, and they are in the beautiful forest on the bank of the Yamuna Tira Vanachari. And the gopis, the milkmaids, the topmost lovers of God, Krishna, are always anxious to serve his beloved Radha, Radharani. So in this way we can understand what is our real life. Our real life is with Krishna. So now we are having an opportunity with this lockdown to look at these issues more deeply and then apply ourselves to the path of Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness, hearing and chanting and remembering and absorbing ourselves in the path of devotion, and in this way waking up this dormant love of God, Sri Krishna, which alone will satisfy our souls. Radhe Radhe Shyam, God bless you.